Hi there, Sugar Snaps. Welcome back to the studio. If you're new to my channel, my name's Brittany. Welcome into my studio. I'm glad to have you. My dress form, Matilda, says hi as well. Today's project is Operation Cozy. I'm going to do a project where I make a few pieces that I can incorporate into my wardrobe. And the first of those is the Nest sweatshirt or sweater by So Liberated, which is a super cute sweatshirt that features a quilt block in the front. I love it because I grew up quilting. My grandmother and my mom are both quilters, and so it just seems pretty relevant to create a sweater with a quilt block in it, and super cozy and nostalgic as well. I'm going to use the Star Quilt block, but I think I'm going to do it all in one solid color, like this example. Another piece that I want to do is the Tino legging from Seamwork Patterns. It's basically an athletic wear pair of leggings. I'm going to do it without the mesh panel. I'm going to do it just solid to just layer up with throughout the winter because it's too cold to wear dresses without leggings, in my opinion. Sorry if that's not stylish enough for you. Personal choice here. And then my third pattern, which is kind of a stretch, and I didn't actually intend to do these, but I came across this pattern as I was looking for fabric, and I had been kind of thinking about doing a pair of trousers or a pair of cigarette pants. Came across this pattern and I was like, well, that would work. I'm using all fabric that I happen to have on hand. Yeah, so that's my three patterns: the Nest sweatshirt, the Tino legging, and then this Simplicity pattern for trousers. So check the description below for the patterns that I'm using and any tools and materials that I show throughout this video. If you are interested in finding resources for those, I will share those down there. Okay, now the first step is to shop my fabric stash, and I've already done that. I went through my stretchy fabrics and I found a green material, which is this stuff right here. So this is a jersey knit. It's got a right and a wrong side. It's pretty medium weight, and I'm going to use this for the Nest sweatshirt. So then I found a batch of fabric for the Tino leggings, and I came up with this heavyweight. This is a, well, not exactly heavyweight. It's like a medium weight. This is a double knit, I believe. Yeah, this is a double knit fabric in navy blue. It might be showing up as black, but it's actually navy blue. And I'm going to do the Tino leggings out of this. And last but not least, for the trousers, this Simplicity pattern, I'm going to use this, it's like between a medium and a heavyweight. It's not quite denim. I'm going to use this for the trousers and probably over dye it once the trousers are done. This camely color is great, but it doesn't really match anything in my wardrobe currently, so I'll probably over dye it some other color. So what I'm going to do is print out the pattern pieces, which I've actually already done for the Tino pattern, and I printed at home, so these are just on regular printer size papers, so I'll cut them out and tape them together. And then I'm going to need to trace this pattern because it's vintage and I don't want to cut it out. I already have the Nest pattern cut out, the sweatshirt pattern cut out, so that's ready to go. So get all the patterns ready to go, and then I'm going to do some measurement checks and just compare the measurements on the pattern to my measurements. Typically, if I was going to be making this piece for somebody else, I would definitely do a mock-up. But this, for the trousers, this is kind of intended to be a mock-up. I want to test this pattern out, so this will be my mock-up. These guys, I've sewn this pattern before as a sample for Seamwork, and so I kind of know the construction process, and I know that I do need to bring in the waist in order for them to fit right. So I think I'm just gonna go for it for these. And then for the Nest, I'm just gonna do some measurement checks before I cut it out, and then go straight to cutting the fabric without doing a sample. So that is my, so all of that cutting out the fabric, and then start to sew them. And at that point, I'll probably break it down into further steps because at that point, I'll have figured out what the next steps are. Here we go, step one, which is put this pattern together. This is the Tino leggings. I printed this out. Super important thing to be aware of if you're printing out online patterns, which I've missed before and regretted it, is to measure the test square. Usually the patterns come with a test square and it says the measurement. Check the measurement of that test square before printing out the entire pattern, because the computer will be set up in one way and may not be set up correctly, and then you end up having to reprint the whole pattern, or like I've done before, you've sewn the whole pattern, gone through the whole process just to realize that you were set at 108% on your computer and then your garment ended up too big. Learn from my mistakes, folks. So with these printable patterns, I'm cutting the edges here and I'm going to tape them together along the lines. They have these nice notches here. You line up to match up the pieces. So I cut these down and then I will tape the row together. Now I'm going to look at these pieces for the Nest sweatshirt and just check on the measurements to see if the measurements of the pattern pieces will land on me where I want them to. So I just have my really long one. I'm gonna use my really long measuring tape. For the Nest sweater here, the neckline I'm going to extend up a little bit so that it's higher up on the shoulders, so it will have slightly deeper V. I want the taper of the V or the point of the V to be in the same place. So I have the shoulder piece here, this is the side front piece, and then this is the front yoke, and these fit together here like this. And then this is the back, which attaches to the back side of the sleeve right there. So this here is the neckline, and I've attached some papers to my pieces so that I can extend this line. So this point right here is where the taper of the neckline is. That's this point right here where it meets in the center front. I'm going to sketch in, I'm gonna leave the back where it is, and then I'm going to sketch in just a little bit more height on the shoulder and bring this piece just in a slight bit, like so. So I'm adding about 1/2 inch to the shoulder and then 1/4 inch to the side front, and then tapering it down to nothing on this front yoke piece. So then I will take this and trim them down along that line, and these will become my new cut lines. So the shoulder or the neckline's just brought in a tad bit. A little bit of tapering on the sides. Size 2 here on the sides. And then out. And those are my adjustments for the nest. And I'm going to follow the directions for the quilt block from the cut list in the pattern instructions. Cut out the Tino leggings pattern, and now I'm ready to lay out the fabric and cut it out. I realized part of the way through putting the pattern together that I had printed off the wrong size. So I had to reprint it out in my size and do the adjustments. So for this guy, the adjustments that I did were on the 2 waistband pieces, these pieces here. I cut them down to the size 4 because that's my waist size. and then tapered down the leg pieces so that they went, these are the back leg and the front leg. Here's the crotch line on both of these. So I taper them down from the size 4 to the size 6 here. So the waist will be the size down to the size 4, and then it goes into the size 6 for the hip and the rest of the leg. Now I'm going to lay out this fabric and cut this out. Oh man. So I've gotten my least favorite part of the sewing project done, which is cutting out the pieces. I have the trousers, the Nest sweatshirt, and the Tino leggings. I'm going to move to my sewing machine and start sewing these pieces up. So let's move on to the sewing machine. Once the sweatshirt was constructed, I chose a color of embroidery thread to do all the top stitching, and I ended up choosing a black, though there were lots of other colors that were potentials. I used the running stitch to stitch along a bunch of the seams around the quilt block to add some visual detail. And my lovely husband made dinner for me. And here is some of the finished stitch work. I'll show you the rest at the end of this video. Good morning, my friends. Day 2 of this wardrobe project. I have my matcha latte. I finished the Nest sweatshirt last night and did a bunch of the embroidery on it, and that's what I'm going to be finishing up right now. And then I will start on the Tino leggings. I have my serger set up with black thread already, so I'm just going to continue with that. I was having some trouble with my serger last night sewing this jersey fabric because the stitching was becoming really loose, and you could see the stitches like here. You can see the stitching show through, and I'm not a big fan of that, so I was trying to figure out how to fix that, and I eventually loosened up the thread on the needles. So now I am just doing the last of this running stitch. I'm doing running stitch on a bunch of these seams, not all of them, but some of the seams to add some visual interest. And also it doubles as tacking down some of the seam allowance so that it lays flat the way I want it to, so that the fit looks good. I'm excited to wear this sweatshirt with my mended jeans. I think the look will go nicely together. I have a goal for today, which is that this thing stays in my sewing kit. Messing up on your sewing project is not the end of the world, so it's okay to use a seam ripper. But I've been using it an awful lot lately, and I would like to just take a break. So that's my goal for today. I think I chose a fabric for these leggings that doesn't have a right side and a wrong side because it's a double knit, so both sides are the right side. Clip to the circle and then attach this guy with this flat edge. And then I'm serging it on, so I need to switch places. I really need a better sewing system. Okay, here we go. Come on, where's my foot? Come on. There we go. Oops. Putting this away. Okay, I want to give you a quick little behind the scenes tour of what's going on here. I have my serger and my Bernina sewing machine set up on this table at my desk. My big screen set up with the instructions. Over here I have my ironing board set up. I'm not going to go step by step through this whole process because quite frankly that's not helpful to you unless you're doing the exact same pattern that I am. So commence soften those. Okay, so this is the side leg panel here, here's the side leg pocket. The progress report, this is the front part of the pant, this is the side panel, and this is the back with the gusset in the crotch. So these will now get put on top of each other, right sides together, and then sewn down these side seams. This is about the point in a project where I start to get very antsy to see the finished product. I recently started the book Laundry Love, a really cool, fun story about laundry, but he writes it kind of like a novel. He has people in his life that have impacted him and how he got into loving laundry. And mostly, I think the focus is laundry, but the love is fabric and clothes and how to take care of your clothing. And it kind of sounds initially like, oh man, a whole book about laundry, but it is actually pretty funny and very informative. And he has a whole section on how to get your athletic wear totally clean so that it doesn't stink. And he talks about using a detergent that has hydrogen peroxide in it, because the hydrogen peroxide is an enzyme that breaks down the sweat and oils that attach to your athletic wear. So I'm excited to try that out on these guys, because this is a poly cotton blend with this spandex, because otherwise it's kind of gross thinking about a sweat and oil buildup on your athletic wear. I'll put the links in the description below to his book, because it is really good. And if you're into clothing or fashion or anything like that, he has a ton of time-saving and money-saving tips on how to do laundry that is effective if you're doing any kind of cosplay or things like that. It's a great book with tips and tricks on how to clean those specialty items without spending a lot of money. I've put a bit of elastic on top of that top seam on the waistband, and now I'm going to turn it right side out like that, and then now that's the top edge, and I'll baste this bottom edge. Last thing to do here, hem the legs. I moved on to the trousers, which I'll show you in quick clips. I did the darts and then created the pocket bag in the sides. So that's the pocket lining, and then this is the pocket bag. I'll serge around the edges here and attach those. And then I basted them in place so that I have the nice hip placement there. Sewed the pieces together, and there are my trousers. Okay, it's time for the reveal of the garments that I made. And then I'll share a little bit of a wrap up on the process and how I think it went. Okay, here's the Nest sweatshirt. I love it. It ended up being more of a long sleeve shirt because I used a jersey fabric, so it's less sweatshirty and more like long sleeve shirt-esque. I ended up adding cuffs and the hemband because I wanted it to be a little bit longer in the sleeves and in the length. And then I did a center seam down the back, which just makes it a little bit more fitted, brought in the sides like you saw, and then the neckline so it fits in a little bit closer to my neck than the original pattern did. I really like all of the alterations I did, and I really love the top stitching look of this. Because I did it in a solid color, I decided to do the top stitching to kind of add some detail, and I love how it turned out. Okay, the Tino leggings also turned out really good. This is probably the first pair of leggings I've ever had that actually fit, because I took in the waist. So you can see the waistband is nice and large. It has a high waistband, so it goes up to my natural waist, and then has the side pockets here on both sides. I like the double knit because it's thick, it feels comfortable, they're cozy. Very pleased with these guys. Would definitely suggest this pattern if you're looking for a nice pair of leggings to sew up. Just make sure you make them out of a good fabric. I've used jersey knit before, just the cotton jersey knit, and it ends up stretching out, and without elastic or spandex, it doesn't spring back. So you end up with really baggy knees. So Tino leggings, everyone. next up, I'll put on my trousers. The trousers turned out okay. I really like the waistband and the pocket, the waistband. It doesn't have any zipper, it just opens here and opens with enough room to get them on and off. I like having nice big pockets, and the front pleats, not pleats, darts, sorry, just mean that the front is a little bit more flattering, has the darts on the back which fit nicely. The one drawback that I found was that the legs are quite wide, which I might get used to, but I did want something that was a little bit more tapered, so I think I will taper the legs a bit, maybe in another project, because these are quite large. I think it would look a little bit more flattering if the legs were slightly narrower. Just watch Jungle Cruise, and Lily, the female lead, her outfits are super cute, and she has a pair of pants that are pretty much this color that I really want to make. So I think I will do another project in the future, adjusting these trousers to narrow the legs and making another pair similar to these, but more like Lily's in the Jungle Cruise movie. So future project up ahead. These were a size 12 in the pattern. I was going to alter them to be a little bit larger. And as I was measuring out the pattern pieces, they looked similar to my size, so I went ahead and just did the pattern in a size 12. And they fit pretty well overall, other than a few adjustments that I would do on a future pair. So that is my 3 projects: the Nest sweater, the Tino leggings, and these trousers. I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. Thanks for joining me in the process of making these pieces. I hope you enjoyed watching and maybe were inspired to make some of your own clothes if you don't already. I'd love to hear about what projects you're doing. Leave a comment in the description below, and check out my community tab because I just recently started posting there. I'll be posting updates on what my next video is, or just things that I'm working on, so check out that to keep in the know of what's happening on the channel. Like this video because it's really encouraging to me to see that you enjoy what I'm making, and subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified whenever I put out a new video. Thank you for joining me in this project today, joining me in the studio. Just wanted to let you know that I recently started a Patreon if you are interested in supporting my work and helping me to create quality creative content here on YouTube for free, as well as my website. Thanks for watching. You're the best. I hope to see you in the studio in a few days. I will see you next time. Happy making. And got my hot cocoa, which I've already lost. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's time for the real